Hey guys, welcome back to Built in America. I'm your host, Jeff Vreeland. This show is about men and women who are actually building businesses in America today, not just chasing profits, but trying to do it with conviction, integrity, and responsibility. As you know, each episode I sit down with founders, operators, and leaders who believe business is more than transactions. It's influence, it's stewardship, and it's one of the most powerful ways values show up in real life. We're here to talk about the marketplace, what's changing, what's working, what it really takes to serve customers who care about what they buy and who they buy it from. These are honest conversations with people doing the work, learning in real time how to build, lead, and grow in a very complicated world. And today I am super excited to have Aaron Hale here. Aaron is the owner, podcast, keynote guy from Out of Sight Ventures. He holds a lot of titles, does a lot of things, but the work that he's doing sits right in the intersection of building a business and staying grounded in his values. Aaron, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Can you tell me a little bit about Out of Sight Ventures and all the work you're doing?
Absolutely. Out of Sight Ventures is my umbrella uh, entity for the keynote speaking, training, coaching, and the podcast. As I'm the podcast host of The Point of Impact with Aaron Hale.
Very cool. Very cool, man. Thanks for sharing that. All right, let's jump into our 5 questions that we do each show. Question number 1: how does your business help people live out their values when they spend their money?
Well, mine as a speaker, trainer, and the podcast host, I help help the customer unlock their potential, chase face their fears, and engage the maximum potential by using the key foundational values, it's unlocking the standards and essentially reaching way past those limiting beliefs that keep us from really exploring the maximum potential.
Yep, absolutely. Well, cool. Question number 2. This is going to be a good answer for you because I know your background. I'm looking forward to hearing the answer. But what does building and growing your business in America mean to you personally?
Well, of course, I started in the U.S. military as a Navy sailor and Army, and transitioned to Army soldier. So I learned a multitude of lessons learned from my service, and of course those core values of defending and serving the nation, our Constitution, and its citizens. And that model of service is what leads me into what I do today. After my injury and illness, I've also been, by fate or by a series of decisions, been thrust into an extraordinary situation and an incredible story. And it was my transition from being a being a participant in it to an observer of, and a student to teacher, that led me to learn these lessons, to observe what I was enduring so that I could help others in survive, not just surviving, but to thriving from their hardships, from their struggles, and to ultimately utilizing those problems, turning them into challenges and opportunities.
Absolutely. Very cool. Very cool. So how have you, this question number 3, how have you seen your customers change in the last few years, especially those that are conservative or faith-minded customers?
I have noticed a little bit of a change
Mm-hmm.
only because I've gone from my service to the civilian sector. And one of the biggest changes, of course, is this meteoric, exponential rise of influence through social media uh, and the internet. And what I find, though, is it's becoming a greater challenge to avoid distraction and to really attain focus and flow. So, uh, and there are just so many voices out there that can influence one's, a leader and a follower's perspective. And That's the one of the biggest assets we have is the power of perspective. So that's one of the key tenets in what I teach and what I speak is to to have a positive mental attitude, outlook, and to be able to shift perspective and find solutions rather than simply fixating on the problem.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Question number 4. What values guide the way that you lead your team and serve your customers?
Well, just as I mentioned, I help people unlock their potential by viewing every situation from a standards perspective, from key principles, foundational uh, core values, and by looking at every opportunity as a way to struggle and grow from the change, using pressure and stress as an asset rather than as something simply to endure. So now I speak to corporations, teams, organizations, military, athletes, and everyday warriors, battle-hardened, battle-tested entrepreneurs and CEOs across the country and around the world to expand their abilities, expand their potential, and lead every day with intention.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. My favorite question. It's the last one. What's one piece of advice you give to other business owners trying to reach values driven Americans?
One piece of advice I would tell is something that I don't know if I've read in a meme somewhere, but it's always been tattooed in the back of my mind is that the story of your struggle may someday be the blueprint for someone else's survival. If you always treat your struggle as something that you can teach later, you convert I can't to how can I to how can I so that I may teach. It turns your every hardship, every problem, every challenge, every struggle into a hero's journey. And at the end of the hero's journey is when the hero, the protagonist, you coming back to tell others how you did it. I tell you what, that's how we live in a civil society, but it's also how we quickly heal from our own challenges and how we overcome many that we would otherwise not have the power to do on our own.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, Aaron, I really appreciate your service. I appreciate what you're doing and what your podcast is and all the talks that you give. Just I appreciate it very much. And thank you for joining us today here on Built in America.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Awesome. Guys, that's a wrap on our show today. I hope today's conversation encouraged you as much as it did me and reminded you that building a business in this country is more than profits. It's about values, people, long-term impact. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you are also subscribed to our weekly Liberty Spenders podcast, which you can find right here on YouTube. We go deeper into how Americans are choosing to live out their values with and where and how they spend their money. If you're a business owner, a leader, or even a brand that wants to better understand how to reach these values-driven Americans, head over to libertyspenders.com. You can book a meeting with myself or anybody on the team. Finally, if you or maybe you know someone who would be a great guest here on Built in America podcast, head over to builtinamericapodcast.com to learn more and apply. But guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting American-built businesses, and we'll see you next time on Built in America.